According to the Torah, we're allowed to tell a non-Jew to do work in Shabbos for us. Because if you tell a non-Jew to do work for you in Shabbos, you're not doing it, the non-Jew is doing it. We find by mitzvahs, the concept of shlichus, what we call shluchei shel adam k'maisnei, the shlich of a person is like himself. So you're asking someone to do a mitzvah for you, it's like you're doing it. Doesn't apply to every single mitzvah, obviously. Some mitzvahs are called mitzvah b'gufay. There are like men, an obligation to put on tefillin. You have to keep Shabbos or other mitzvahs. No esrog, shayfa, it's an obligation. But what's stuck is a concept of shlichus. You make someone a shliach to do a mitzvah for you. The Rebbe used to give out coins with stuff, dollars with stuff, and those making a shliach to do a mitzvah. People travel, we give them money to the pushkin, give them a shliach to do a mitzvah. So by mitzvahs, there's a concept of shlichus, but not by averos. So if you're telling someone to do an averos for you, even if it's a Jew, which you're not allowed, of course, but it's not like you're doing it. For sure, if you're telling a non-Jew to work for you in Shabbos, according to the Torah, that's not considered that you are transgressing Shabbos, because the non-Jew is doing it for you. But rabbinically, that's prohibited. The Chum came and said that there is a concept of shlichus. Rabbinically, we consider it as shlichus, that if you're telling a non-Jew to do work for you on Shabbos, rabbinically it's considered as if you're doing it. However, the main reason why our sages prohibited us telling a non-Jew to do work on Shabbos is so Shabbos does not become like a joke, meaning people should not transgress Shabbos. If people were allowed to tell a non-Jew to do work on Shabbos, what would Shabbos look like? So now business is as usual. You just have to have a non-Jew with you. Tell him to drive the car, you tell him to press the button, you tell him to make the deposit, you tell him whatever you need to do, he does for you. But now, what could this lead to? This can lead to that you yourself will transgress Shabbos. Because once Shabbos becomes such a light thing that Shabbos is the same thing, what's the difference? All the same. You work during the week, Shabbos is all the same. So no difference. Oh, there's a technical difference. Instead of me pressing the button, so that he presses the button, but now this will lead to that if the non-Jew is not available, you do it yourself. What's the big deal? Okay, so I'll press it, big deal. It's happening anyways. Well, now he's not here the second, I'll do it. So this can mean that a Jew will transgress Shabbos. And that's why our sages said you cannot ask a non-Jew to do work for you on Shabbos. Same as Yom Tov too. Now, there's different ways of how we could tell a non-Jew to work for you on Shabbos. One way is when he's hired to work every single day, he's getting paid by the day or by the month, as opposed to the job. So there is where you pay someone to do a job for you, with a contractor, then there is where you pay by the day of the month. When you're paying a person by the day, it's paying a non-Jew to work for you by the day. If it's called a scheme, getting paid by the day. So then that's considered shlichus. That's absolutely prohibited because the non-Jew is working for you. Okay, we said that already. What am I trying to tell you? Because we come to distinguish between this and another case, which is we said is the contract. Calling it contract because that's the terminology used in Melacha called a kablan. Kablan. Put on the board if you want. Kablan. Kablan is Kabbalah, like makabel to receive. So someone accepts upon himself to do a job and he's getting paid for the job. That's not essentially prohibited in itself, meaning in terms of the prohibition of our sages, they cannot tell a non-Jew to work for on Shabbos when he's a cobbler, when he's a contractor, and you're hiring him to do a job for you. In other words, we're discussing here when you're not telling him to do it on Shabbos. Even, for example, what we just mentioned before, the Schilyen, the non-Jew is getting paid by the day of the month. You're not telling him to work for you on Shabbos, but you're telling him I'm paying you for every single day. And it's understood that he has to work on Shabbos also. If it's understood from your contract with him, when you hired him, that he has to work on Shabbos also, even though you didn't tell him directly to work on Shabbos, but if that's how it's understood, then he's working for you on Shabbos. You're paying him for the day of Shabbos. But if you're hiring a non-Jew to be a contractor, okay, using a contractor, because that's how the term in Melacha, but we mean you're hiring him to do a job. Pay him for the job, not for the day, hour, for the job. Essentially, this is not really in the category of shlichus in itself, because when a non-Jew is hired as a contractor to do a job, he's getting paid for the job. And you're not telling him to do it on Shabbos. You're not telling him a deadline. You're not telling him, you're not coming to him Friday afternoon saying, I need this by Sunday morning. And the only way to do it is Shabbos. That's not what you're doing. You're hiring to do a job. You're not telling him to do it on Shabbos. You're not telling him, I need to have it by this day. Well, if you have it this day, that means that it's going to work on Shabbos. You're not doing that, right? Well, let's finish this. So you're hiring him in such a way that you're not telling him to do it on Shabbos. You're not implying to do it on Shabbos. He can do whatever he wants. Because he's getting paid for the job, he's not considered working for you. He focuses on himself. His focus is, let me get the job done as ASAP so I can get paid. Whereas if he's getting paid by the day, then every day he's working for you, then his interest is not in the job. His interest is in you. His interest is working for you, as opposed to he's being hired to do a job. He's getting paid for the job. His focus is on the job. He's focusing, he needs to finish this job to get paid. So if you a non-Jew that's hired to do a job, I'm not saying it's allowed. I'm not saying we're talking about it. But if non-Jew is hired to do a job, then to start with, that's not really prohibited to start with, because that's not considered that he's working for the Jew. And many times it will be permitted. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, because I think it a lot of people work, like let's say a family that they've never worked with or reached out to them to on Shabbos. One day and they've never done it before.
1 second. Yeah. So you're talking about babysitting, right?
Is that not
So
considered?
we are discussing now work that's prohibited to be done on Shabbos.
I thought you were talking about jobs that stop.
There is a separate discussion about, which we discussed in previous classes, about earning money from the day of Shabbos. That's something else. We're discussing work that's not allowed to be done on Shabbos. That's what we're discussing. So if you're hiring, let's say, a non-Jew to do a job, in what way will it be permitted to him to do a job for you on Shabbos? I'm not saying in what way can you do it on Shabbos? Again, you can't tell him to do it on Shabbos. So you can never tell him to do it on Shabbos. So the discussion is that if you're giving to him and you know he's going to do it on Shabbos, can you give it to him? So in what situation can you give it to him if he's not pressured to do it on Shabbos, and he should be getting paid? He should be getting paid, and he has to be, and he cannot do it in your house. If he does it in your house, that's an issue because of Marasign. People will see him in your house working. He will suspect you that you hired him in a way that's prohibited, which is getting paid by the day. So those are the conditions, and then it's permitted. Then you have a situation where he's doing something by himself. You didn't hire him. We discussed you're hiring him, they're paid for the day. Hiring him, get paid for the job. He's coming by himself and he's doing work for you. Is that an issue? Now everyone knows that. I mean, everyone knows. I mean, it's these are things that happen a lot of times. That when we get a non-Jew, people hint to the non-Jew, and the non-Jew will come and do work for you. And is that permitted? Yeah, there are situations that is permitted. What's going on? He's doing work for you. When you are not hiring him to do work for you, and he's coming by himself to do work for you, then the way it works is like this. If he's doing a job for you that you will benefit from on Shabbos, he's doing it for you that you can benefit from it on Shabbos. Now, these words are very specific. I mean exactly what I'm saying. He's doing a job for you that you can benefit, and he's doing it so you should be able to benefit from it on Shabbos, then that becomes prohibited like shlichus. It's like you're hiring him to do for you. It's like that's absolutely prohibited. However, if he's doing a job for you that it's not so you can benefit from it on Shabbos in itself, then if he comes by himself, it's permitted. And that's why, if that's where the idea of hinting is, in a situation where, and I'm going to elaborate soon, in a situation where you're not benefiting directly from what he's doing, because he's allowed to do it for you, as long as you don't tell him directly to do it for you, that is where you have this halacha that you can hint to the non-Jew and he'll come and he'll do it, because you're not telling him, but he's doing it for you. So you're not telling him. And what is he doing for you? Whatever he's doing for you is not so you can benefit from that actual melacha. Now, obviously, it's something that you want him to do it and benefits you. Otherwise, what's the purpose? But it's not directly from that. So, very classical example is putting out a light. He comes and he puts out a light. You're not benefiting from his act. What does it mean you're benefiting from the act? Sure, you're benefiting from the act. You put out the light. It's act. You're not talking about the act, the physical act. You're talking about benefiting from the melacha. What did he do? He put out the light. There's a bulb that's giving light, but now he put out the light. Or the way it's described in Melacha, he put out the candle. The fire was burning, there was no fire. Now it's out. There's no fire. Where did the Melacha take place? What did the Melacha want? A wick. The filament, whatever now it's the LED, whatever. He did a Melacha in the bulb, whatever. This bulb that was shining is now dark. You're benefiting from this dark bulb? It's dark. It's so good for next to a dark bulb. It's like just rejuvenating. It's not, the dark bulb is not doing anything. Whereas when he puts on the light, you're benefiting from the action. So because you're not benefiting from the action, and you're not telling him directly, that's why that's not in the category of shlichus. Because you're not telling him to do it for on Shabbos. He's doing it by himself. Whatever he's doing, you're not benefiting from the action directly from what he did. So that is not included in the prohibition. Turn it off, because there's no benefit from him, from the action. The fact that he made the bulb dark, you don't benefit from the dark bulb. So there's no direct benefit from what he did. Sure, from the result there's a benefit. but that is not included in the prohibition.
But I've seen people turn them on.
The non-Jew. Can there be situations where it's allowed to tell a non-Jew to put on lights? Yes, there can be a situation. If it's essential. No, okay, so there is a situation actually. If hinting, right? You're not hinting, right?
Yeah.
So good. If there are lights already on, which means you're not desperate for the lights, you have enough light. Yeah? So
I got you outside.
going one?
Yeah.
Or two? You see, look, one of the lights are on. Right, so if one of the lights are off, one is on, you have light.
Yeah.
See? But not enough, let's say. You want more light. Let's even less than that. But now, you could consider non-Jew, even though it's turning on the light, because it's also not considered a direct benefit because you have light anyways. But what if so you're actually allowed to? You're allowed to hint. You can't tell them directly.
Yeah.
You tell him, it's little, whatever you tell him,
Yeah.
and he understands to put it on.
Even
But
if it was like pitch black, it's fine.
no,
No?
I'm saying because you still have some light, so you're not getting a real benefit. In other words, because you have that's what I'm saying. Because you have some lights on, you have more lights, you really have light already. So it's not considered you're benefiting so much. You're benefiting, but not really, because you already have light. So that's why in such a situation, you can't hint to the non-Jew, tell them that, difficult to read, whatever you tell him, and he understands, and he'll put on the light.
Okay.
But if it's pitch dark, then you can't, because then you're getting a real benefit.
The practical example, just want to double check. So let's say there's the bathroom light goes out and the bathroom is pitch black, but there's like the light coming in from the hallway. Would that be okay to use the non-Jew?
It's a little issue, because how much light come forward with you use the bathroom's closed and use it, or coming through the cracks,
I'm saying like,
through the
Yeah.
window.
whatever, yeah.
It's tricky because it's not so simple because how much light is coming in? We're not talking about, okay, there's something coming in. It has to be something that's
Tangible.
like here. It can be even less than what I showed you here, because it has to be something that's in the bathroom, the light that's coming in. My assumption is you really have nothing. It's not the light that you're looking for, which you would like to have, which a person needs
Yeah.
in that situation. It's not just about some light coming in. No, it's something tangible, something that you could bear with it. The other questions? Oh, now there can be what I was going to start saying before is that there can be a situation where you could directly tell the non-Jew to put on lights. Can be. For example, the lights that we have these days is LED. Assuming if it's LED, then it's only rabbinically prohibited. So if you're in a situation where it's pitch dark and it's going to affect your Einik Shabbos, enjoying Shabbos, then for the mitzvah of enjoying Shabbos, now again, it shouldn't just be used just like that. Oh, I want to enjoy Shabbos. Something that you feel that's something that's really important, a Shabbos meal. So then you will be allowed to tell a non-Jew to put on the lights. Those days, and Shvat talks about this case, but it was actual candles, so that was a real issue. Alter Rebbe says better sit in the dark than putting on candles. But because it's LED, it's rabbinic, and it's important for the meal, then you could tell the non-Jew directly. So, you want to drop off dry cleaning stuff. Go to dry cleaners, and you're coming before Shabbos, and you're dropping it off. non-Jewish dry cleaners, and you need it right after Shabbos because you're going on a trip Sunday morning. They're open Shabbos. They're going to do, for sure. And Sunday morning you're going to come pick it up from them. The question is, are you allowed to drop it off right before Shabbos? Where they're going to do it on Shabbos. And you need it Sunday morning. Okay, I'm asking in a tricky way. So here's the catch. The catch is as follows. This is the main point. What are you conveying to them? What are you telling them? When you come to drop off your dry cleaner stuff for Shabbos, you're telling them, I have a flight Sunday morning. Please, don't say, if you don't say anything to them, you're good. You know they're going to do it Shabbos. I'm not telling you. I'm not saying anything. If you don't tell them to do it on Shabbos, you know he's going to do it Shabbos. So what? That's it. What?
I said you're right.
That's how it's set up. That's how they work operate. They do it right away. If you don't tell them, you don't give them instructions, but they're going to do it on their own on Shabbos, and you need it right after Shabbos. But if you're not telling them to do it on Shabbos, then you're okay. So there is also another interesting situation. And that is where the Chachamim allow you to tell a non-Jew directly to do something that's prohibited by the Torah. They allow you to tell a non-Jew to milk a cow for you because the animal is in pain. Because it says Tsar Bal Chaim is min Torah. The pain of animals is from the Torah. So therefore, they allow you to tell a non-Jew to milk the cow for you. Now, it's you're telling them directly, which usually is not permitted. But in here, they're allowing you because of the situation. But the Chachamim are also going to tell you where to try to minimize as much as possible the transgression of telling a non-Jew to do work for you. And that is that telling you that you need to tell the non-Jew that you could keep the milk. Because why is this an issue? Why is this? Let's put aside that our sages are being leading to here. Let's analyze. So why is this prohibited? Because you're telling a non-Jew to do work for you on Shabbos. Something that's directly going to benefit you. But if you tell him very clearly that you could keep the milk for yourself, so now he's not doing it for you. He's doing it for himself. So what you need to do is tell him, keep the milk for yourself. Please milk the cow, but keep the milk for yourself. So now you're downgrading the prohibition. Instead of this prohibition being in the status of, whoa, this is prohibited, this is real shlichus because you're telling a non-Jew to do work for you on Shabbos that you're going to benefit from. Now you're just telling him, you're still telling him to milk the cow, so usually it would be prohibited, but you're downgrading the severity of the prohibition because now he's doing it for himself. Now, in general, this would actually, in other words, if not in this situation, this would actually be prohibited. So let's put it aside. Let's say the animal's not in pain. Now, I'm telling the non-Jew to milk my cow, and I'm telling him, you keep the milk for yourself. Milk is for you. What's the problem? Why, in general, if not for this situation, we wouldn't allow this. He's doing it for himself. What is the issue? The issue is when you tell a non-Jew to do work for you, and now for himself, the non-Jew here, milk the cow and the milk is for you. what is really the reason why it's prohibited? The reason is because it looks like shlichus. So there's certain things that Chacham forbade us because of the impression what it gives. Because that cow is your cow and belongs to you. So when you're asking him to milk your cow and telling him, you keep the milk. Oh, so he's not doing it for himself. Yeah, but it's your cow. So the impression that he gives is shlichus. This is what the impression gives. You don't want to do something that gives the impression of shlichus where you're directing a non-Jew to do work for you because that will mean to do it in a prohibited way. That's why generally, if not for the fact that animals are pain, we wouldn't allow that also. Because the animals are pain, so we say, okay, you could tell the non-Jew to milk the cow for you, but you're going to downgrade. It's not going to be real shlichus, direct act. You're telling him, you're instructing him to do work for you. You're going to do it in a way when he's not doing it, he's doing it for himself. So it's not as strict, but now it's going to be okay.
You can also tell them to do
To what?
You can also tell them to do
So that's something else. So that is, if let's say, that's if you're doing it on your own. Then if you, why is it doing it for? Tell them to take it for himself.
Or if he doesn't
If, what?
or if he doesn't want to. For whatever reason.
Okay, I guess so. I mean, usually that idea is given to the Jew. Meaning, if let's say there's no non-Jew and animals are paying, what do you do? So if you remove the milk, now it becomes a rabbinic prohibition because it's going to waste. And now, in a desperate situation, the animals are paying, there's no non-Jew. Now you're doing it on your own, and you're ruining the milk. So I guess the non-Jew doesn't want to do it. When the non-Jew doesn't want the milk, he's saying, if the non-Jew tells you, no, it's okay, I don't need the milk, I'm doing it for you. Yeah, it's a good question, actually. Theoretically, if you tell the non-Jew that, and the non-Jew says, no, I'm doing it for you. That's a very good point. Then it's actually a problem. Then if you tell, no, do it for yourself. No, I'm doing it for you. You actually can't. It's like, it's not usual for the non-Jew to say, I don't want it. I don't want the milk. Well, what does he want? He doesn't want to drink it. So it's his. He can sell it. Why would he give away the milk? But if he actually says that, then I guess that's what you need to do. You need to put something there to destroy it, to ruin the milk. Yeah, good point. Very good point. So now another example, which you're not allowed to do based on this halacha where it looks like shlichus, is you cannot tell a non-Jew. You have your neighbor across the hallway, a non-Jew, he comes to your apartment, you come to him, he comes to you, and you're very nice to him. You say, here, have some meat, have good meat, beef, whatever you have, and say, here, take the beef, make yourself a steak. You want to be nice to him, want a piece of meat, and he'll cook it himself. Here, are you allowed to do that? Yeah? You tell him, here, take a piece of meat. We're not talking about when he's walking outside, because if you give him something and he's going to carry outside, you can't do that.
No.
They're doing it his own apartment. I'm saying if he's going to carry it outside, then you're not allowed to give it to him. Somebody's not going to carry it outside. Could you give it to him? And he will, you're telling him, here, take this piece of meat, here, go make yourself a barbecue. You're instructing him, so to say, to do something, instructing, do what he wants, but sort of directing him, hey, go, you're telling him to make a barbecue for himself. Now, you're not going to cook on Shabbos, and you tell him, get him to do it. Is that an issue? Now, in terms of Melacha, you could do it, it's not a problem. But he's doing it for himself. But because you are directing him to do Melacha with something that belongs to you, you tell him, here, cook, make a barbecue. So you're directing him to do Melacha. Now, the non-Jew is doing it for himself. But because he's using the item that belongs to you, it's yours, it looks like you are giving him a shlichus. It looks like you're sending him to do it on Shabbos. So that's why it's prohibited. Now that's the same case with the milk. When you're giving the milk to the person, to the guy, you're telling him, here, the milk is yours, milk the cow. But over there we allow it because the animal's in pain. But otherwise it wouldn't be allowed because being that it's your cow and you're telling him, yeah, milk the cow for yourself, you keep the milk, because your cow, it looks like shlichus. Because by the end of the day, you are directing him to do something with your cow. You are directing, on the case of meat, you are directing the non-Jew to cook meat with your meat. Now, if you would go to your neighbor and tell him, you know what, I think that today's a perfect day for barbecue. The weather's so nice, why don't you make yourself a barbecue? You're not giving him meat, you're just giving him advice. You're suggesting, you're sort of like encouraging him, make a barbecue, but you're not offering meat. You're just telling him, right? Or you tell the non-Jew, you pass by his house, hey, how you doing? And then the grass is long over there. You tell him, hey, why don't you cut the grass? They say, well, perfect day. Cut the grass. It's a good day. If you're not offering him your lawnmower, then it's not a problem. If you're going to say, hey, I have a lawnmower for you, you want to cut your grass? That you can't do because you're offering him your lawnmower. But if you are just telling him, directing him, suggesting to him, it's a good day to cut the grass. No problem. Because you're not giving him anything. It's nothing coming from you. You're just directing him. You're just guiding him, suggesting, telling him to do something for himself. And not just let him do stuff for himself. You're not forcing him. There's no force involved. You're forcing him to do something. But yeah, you're sort of guiding him, you're directing him. But he's doing it for himself. He's allowed to do stuff for himself. It's only when it belongs to you that then it has that flavor where it looks like, because the item belongs to you, it's your lawnmower, it's your meat. Now it looks like you are telling him to do stuff for you because it's yours. Usually, when it's your item, things are done for yourself. That's why also, if you're walking down the street, it happens many times, to go to the corner, the cars are stopped for the light, and you see it. What happens? You see a car stopped there, no headlights, right? People forget to put on the headlights at night. Are you allowed to point and say, or tell them, your headlights are off? Are you allowed to? Answer is yes. Why? Not a problem. Besides, you could argue it's dangerous, even put that, even without that already you can start debating it. You are directing him to do something with his car. And he's doing it for himself. Why people drive headlights? For themselves. Of course, it's other people, but it's for themselves too, because they don't want to deal with this, this hassle of, it's not fun. Police and going to jail, it's for himself. So you're allowed to, tell him, hey, your headlight, you can tell him directly, your headlights are off. Put on your headlight, let it tell him. Maybe if he's driving your car. But no, usually he's driving his own car, not your car. So it's no problem, you do. Some say that it's that if you're walking, you're crossing the street, in the middle of the street, and because that causes the car to slow down, you shouldn't do that.
Really?
Sometimes you cross the middle of the street, right?
Yeah.
And there's a car coming, but you have to, you're not across. You're going to make it. The car will have to slow down and drop. The car is far enough that he could slow down without having to make a short stop, So are those that say, and I think it makes sense, that you shouldn't do such a thing. Because why? Because you're causing him to stop the brake, to stop.
But there are so many times when we're like especially in this area, if we're standing on the side of the road and if, let's say,
Mm.
like the car just decides to stop for us or like slow down.
That's fine. That's fine. You're standing by the end and he decides to stop for you. So you didn't,
That's okay.
what do you just do? You're supposed to not stand by the end of the road. You
Right,
stay.
that's what I'm saying.
He has the option. He doesn't have to stop for you. You could go. It's all about you start crossing the street and now the car has to like slow down because of you. That could be an issue. Again, it could be argued because why is he slowing down? Just for you, for himself too. But here you're directly, you are doing something so direct that he's forced to stop. You know what I mean? You are forcing him to stop, and technically, it is for you. So, though you may argue in terms of the letter of the law that could be it's not, it doesn't smell good. It's like this is here. You're directly doing something that you're forcing him. You are forcing him to press his brakes, slam his brakes. You're forcing him. Obviously, he's in for himself too, but you're forcing him to press on the brakes. So you don't cross the middle of the street. In general, it's not the best thing to do, but especially Shabbos. Okay, to be continued. Remind us, I always get mixed up
Yeah.
here. Sometimes it goes, sometimes it doesn't. Just close it. Yep.